Welcome students. Today we are going to talk about a new topic, gravitation. You can definitely expect some one question at least on this topic. The topic is easy. Some basic formulas you have to remember. Now it is like this. Suppose there are two masses. Okay? M1 and M2. They will be experiencing a mutual force of attraction between them. Now that type of force is called a gravitational force. Now why they are not coming closer to each other when there is a mutual attractive force? There is no repulsion between two objects. There is never a repulsive force. There is always a force of attraction. And why they are not coming close to each other means it is gravitation force is weak. Okay. Now it is observed that gravitation force is proportional to M1 and M2. That means if you increase the masses, the gravitational force will increase, and gravitational force is inversely proportional to the 1 upon r square. R square is the distance between the center of masses. R is the distance between the center of masses. So if you combine these two, you get F is proportional to M1 M2 by R square. Okay. To remove this, we have to bring one constant of proportionality, M1 M2 by R square. This G is called universal gravitational constant. Okay. Now universal gravitation constant means whether you take Earth, you take Mars, you take Jupiter, you take Saturn, the value of G remains the same, and the value of G is 6.67 into 10 to the power of minus 11. Okay, so this is the magnitude part. So if you want to work out the units, you can calculate the units from here. Let us just calculate that. So G will be equal to Fr square by M1 M2 means M square only, no? So what is the unit of force? It is Newton. It is kg meter per second square. Mass into acceleration into r square means distance square divided by meter square. Mass square, this is mass. So this is kg square. Okay. So you got here kg to the power of minus 1 and meter to the power of 3 and second to the power of minus 2. Okay. If you write the dimensions of G, it is kg means m power minus 1, meter cube, L power 3, second to the power of minus 2, t to the power of minus 2. So these are the units of universal gravitational constant. Okay. Now, this is your Earth. There are two objects like this. Okay. Obviously, there is a gravitation force between these two, and there is a gravitation force between the Earth. So, what will happen if you release those two balls? The balls will fall down towards the Earth. Because there is a gravitational force between these two also, why can't they take a curvature like this and then fall? The answer to this question is, let us the force between these two masses is F1, and let us the force between the mass and the earth is F2. So F2 is very high compared with F1. So that is the reason why when you drop an object, it falls towards the ground. Okay, so this is one thing. The gravitational forces are center line forces. That means draw a line passing through the center. I can say that there is a gravitation force between these two. I will apply the gravitation force like this. But actually they are not like that. The gravitation force is along the center line. So it is also called center line forces. It is also called center line forces. So here you may be dealing with point masses, or you can be dealing with huge masses. Okay, this is a point mass. If I take earth, if I take sun, these are all huge masses. So you have to draw the center line forces. And here one more observation what you can make is, suppose this is object 1, this is object 2. So force on 1 because of 2, it is in this direction. Force on 2 because of 1, it is in this direction. So you can see that F12 and F21 are mutually opposite. And if you talk about their magnitudes, F12 magnitude is equal to F21 magnitude. Why? Because if you write F G M1 M2 by R square, this is same as writing as G M2 M1 by R square. No? Is it making any difference? So you can see that they are following the Newton's law. They are following the Newton's law. Okay, they follow the Newton's law. So this F, you write it as G M1 M2 by R square. You put a minus here. What does this minus indicate? Always attractive force. Always attractive force. See, in class 12 you will be studying about electrostatics. Okay, if you thoroughly understand these equations, there also you will come across similar equations, but in the place of G some other constant will come. In the place of M1 M2 you will get charges. All this pattern will repeat. So if you understand this chapter very well, it will help you in electrostatics also when I am going to teach you. Okay, suppose I arrange 3 masses in a triangle. Okay, so let us say this is 1, 2 and 3. So F13, if I write gravitation force on 1 because of 3, it will be in this direction. Gravitation force on, if I write here gravitation force on 3 because of 1, it will be in this direction. You have to join the center lines. So here F12, gravitation force on 1 because of 2, it will be like this. Gravitation force on 2 because of 1, it will be like this. And here gravitation force on 3 because of 2, it is like this. And gravitation force on 2 because of 3, it will be like this. So this is how you have to understand, okay, for solving any numericals. Okay, then we talk about how to find this gravitation constant means F is equal to, I am talking only about the magnitude now, m1 m2 by r square. So it is experimentally determined. Suppose if I put m1 is equal to 1 kg, m2 is equal to 1 kg and r is equal to 1 meter. I took two masses separated by a distance of 1 meter and their masses are also 1 kg. Mathematically what is happening? It is becoming F is equal to G into 1 into 1 by 1 square, or F is equal to G. So it is the force experienced by 2 point masses separated by 1 meter distance. That value is called the G value. Experimentally it is determined like that. Okay. Alright. Now let us see one more point. Suppose this is a medium. This is air medium and this is water medium or kerosene medium or whatever medium. Here you have taken two masses. Alright. So obviously these two masses will experience gravitational force. The masses are m1, m2 and they are separated by distance r. So what is the gravitational force? It is G m1 m2 by r square. Okay. See students, many times you will be coming across this small g and capital G. They are totally different. G is universal gravitational constant. G is acceleration due to gravity. Okay, don't get confused here. This is acceleration due to gravity. We will see how we have got this, and this is universal gravitational constant. Do not get confused between these two. The value of G is constant anywhere in the universe, but the G value changes from planet to planet. Like on Earth, it is 10 meter per second square, but on Moon it is some other value. It is in fact 1/6 of the Earth value. Okay. Okay. The point I am trying to tell you here is, so these two are experiencing some force. Let us say that force is F. Now you put these two balls into the water or some other medium. Now let us say this force is F dash. What do you think? The value of F dash will be more than F, less than F, or equal to F? F dash more than F, F dash less than F, or F dash equal to F? F dash will be equal to F. These two are invalid. So the medium has no effect on gravitational forces. In this system there may be some other forces, a lot of other forces. We are not discussing about that. But when you talk about the gravitational force will not have any effect. And there won't be any change in that. Alright. Let me give you another scenario. Suppose there is a mass here, there is another mass here. I connect this with a line. Okay, this is mass 1 and this is mass 2. I put another mass in between the mass 1 and mass 2. Now, between 1 and 3 you have a gravitational force. Between 3 and 2 you have a gravitational force. Because I put one mass here, will the gravitational force of 1 and 2 be affected? The gravitational force between 1 and 2 won't be affected because of 3. Okay, so this is also a concept you should know. Now let us move to Kepler's law. Now let us give a thought to Kepler's law. Kepler gave 3 laws and these are important. Now Kepler says that any planet, it moves around the sun in a elliptical orbit. Okay, any planet which moves around the sun, this is a planet and this is 2 different locations of sun, they keep changing. You can call them as foci. Plural of focus. It has got, an ellipse has got 2 focus. Okay, so let us call this distance as 2a and this distance is 2b. This resembles the shape of an egg. Okay, now 2a is called major axis and a is called semi-major axis. So here you need to know these terms. This will come across in maths also, those who are maths students. So A is called semi-major axis and B is called semi-minor axis. Okay, so during the course of travel, these you know that these planets are spinning about their own axis and they are rotating around the sun. So when the distance between the, so this is positions of sun, let us say. So when the distance between this planet and the sun is very very close, it is possible only if it is here, it is called perihelion. Okay, so you write it as P. So when it is here, then it is called aphelion. These are terms you are supposed to know. You can call it as A. So you can say, sir, this is very close to this. Now why you are not calling this as perihelion? See, we are talking about when the sun location is here, the nearest distance is perihelion, and with respect to this location, the farthest distance is aphelion. So for this position, this will become perihelion and this will become aphelion. Okay, so this is one term you are supposed to know. Now, as per second, this is the first law. It says that these planets are there moving in an elliptical orbit. Now coming to the second law. So this is your oval shape. Okay. Acha. Here we will do some more. Let us call this distance as RA and this distance we have to take from this. Okay. This is RB and this distance is RA. R is not radius. We are just taking the distances from the focus. A distance from the focus like this. Okay. Now let us say this distance is C and this distance is A. Obviously when the total distance is 2A, this will be A. So can I write RP as C minus A? No, A minus C. RP can be written as A minus C. Okay, from here to here it is A, C, we want this distance, right? So A minus C and RA is equal to, so this is A and this is C, so it is A plus C. Okay. Now if you write in terms of eccentricity, if you write in terms of eccentricity, so eccentricity is defined as C upon A. Eccentricity is defined as C upon A. So from here you are getting C is equal to EA. Alright. So I can write RP as A minus EA or A into 1 minus E. Similarly, RA will become A into 1 plus E. Okay. Now take a condition that suppose E is equal to 0. Basically what is happening? You are getting that RP is equal to RA. Alright. So what does this mean? It means that the planet is rotating in a circular path. Because at every position the radius is same. That means these two focus, they have merged and come to the center, and you have a situation like this. They have a center and the planet is rotating in the circular path. When is that going to happen? When this eccentricity has to become 0. So this is one point you should understand. So this is all about Kepler's first law. Now let us move to the Kepler's second law. Let us move to the Kepler's second law. See, the situation is like this. Let us say the focus is here and the planet is moving from here to here. Okay? The planet was here at some point of time. From there it moved to here. So definitely it covered some area in some time. So Kepler's second law says that the dA by dt is constant. Kepler's second law states that the area covered in time is always a constant. Okay? dA by dt is constant. So from here if you observe here, we will try to bring it in a more simpler format. So there is a planet whose mass is m, alright, and it is traveling with some speed. So here let us say I take this distance as r, I take a small element dl, and this is making angle theta at the center. Okay. So what is your area? See, you know that S is equal to r theta, right? S is equal to r theta. So in this case, this dl becomes equal to r times d theta, right? So if you talk about the area, if you differentiate both sides, and what is the area actually? Area of a sector. Area of a sector is, I can do one thing. This small piece, see, it is like a very, very small piece. Okay? We have taken this element as a very small element. So this is your dl and this is your r. So I can consider this area as the area of a triangle. Half into dl into r. Okay? Now let us just put the terms what we have done here. In the place of dl you put r d theta multiplied by r. So this is half r square d theta, which is nothing but your area. Now because dA by dt is constant, you differentiate both sides with respect to time. Differentiating both sides with respect to time, you get dA by dt is equal to half is a constant will come out, r square is a constant will come out, d theta by dt. d theta by dt. What is d theta by dt? Is it not angular speed? So it is half into r square omega. Alright. So let us write these terms here. So dA by dt is equal to half. I'll do one thing. I'll multiply numerator and denominator by mass. So I will get mr square omega divided by m. Right? So what is this mr square? You have seen this in oscillations chapter. It is moment of inertia. So it is half I omega divided by m. What is I omega? It is angular speed. L divided by 2m. So basically you are calling that L by 2m is constant. So this is the implication of Kepler's second law. You are basically saying that L upon 2m is constant. So if a mass is rotating around a bigger planet, so its angular speed divided by the mass is always a constant. So this is the implication of the second law. Let us move to the third law. So questions are often asked on this second law and the third law. Kepler's third law. Okay. Now this is the elliptical orbit. Okay. The Kepler's third law talks basically about the time period. Okay. So the sun location is somewhere here, and the planet is rotating around the sun. So here these two masses are experiencing a gravitational force which is given by Gmn by r square. Okay. Now this planet is also rotating in a circular fashion. Okay. It will be experiencing a centrifugal force given by mr omega square. Okay. I will tell you why it is experiencing a centrifugal force. Now from here you get mass and mass cancel. So Gm by r square is equal to r into 4 pi square by d square, because omega is equal to 2 pi by d. So what are you getting here? You are getting t square is equal to Gm into 4 pi square into r cube, isn't it? Or I can say t square is proportional to r cube. This is the implication of Kepler's third law. So if you want to know the time period of a particular planet, it depends upon the radius. Okay, it depends upon the radius. Radius means which radius? Is it the radius of Earth, or is it the distance of separation of the Earth from the Sun? The second one is the thing. It is not the radius of the Earth. It is the radius of the distance of separation. This is the distance of separation we are talking about. This is our R. Okay. So note this point. So tell me one thing. A logical question I'll ask you. See, this is our big sun, and this is our chotu sa Earth. This is our sun. This is our Earth. Obviously, this is experiencing a gravitational force towards the sun, and sun also is experiencing a gravitational force towards the Earth. And if you compare the masses, sun is much heavier and higher compared with the Earth. Then why Earth is not getting inside the Sun? Now the reason is the Earth is not stagnant, it is not stationary. Earth is rotating about its own axis, and Earth is in a motion, is in a circular motion. Okay, if Earth was simply stationary, by this time we would have all been inside the Sun and we would have evaporated also. There would not be having any existence of Earth. So it is like this. The Sun is moving like this, Earth is moving like this. You know, there is a pattern which is going like this. Neither Sun is stationary and Earth is stationary. It is not like that. They are moving. They are moving in a circular fashion. Okay. So that is the point you have to understand. Because they are moving, so this is experiencing a centripetal force. Okay, which is equal to the gravitational force between them, which is Gmm by r square. This is what I have written in that derivation. Okay, so mind you, Sun and Earth, they are not stationary. They are both moving in some elliptical or circular orbits, and it is true for other planets also. It is true for our universe. Otherwise, everyone would have been got sucked into someone or other. Okay, you have a situation like this. You have a Sun, then you have Mercury, you have Venus, Earth, Mars. Suppose they are all stagnant. So what will happen? They will self-collapse. No? Jupiter is much higher compared with the Mars, let us say. So it will suck the Mars. But Mars is not stationary, neither is Jupiter stationary. They are all revolving, right? So this is the thing behind this.